The video's final frame flickered on the screen, casting eerie shadows across Liam's face. He stared at the grainy image of Jack Stone, standing behind Evylin, his expression cold and calculating, nothing like the man Liam had questioned just days before. Fear twisted in his gut, a dark, gnawing feeling that refused to let go. Jack, the man who had seemed so distraught, so worried about his sister's disappearance, was the one orchestrating it all. He wasn't a victim. He was the mastermind. But why? And what did David Harlow have to do with this twisted plan? Liam replayed the video in his mind. Evylin tied to a chair, her eyes wide with fear. But she was alive. That small fact offered a flicker of hope amidst the growing darkness. But the danger was real. Jack was more dangerous than he'd ever imagined, and Evelyn's life was hanging by a thread. As Liam stood in the dimly lit basement of Jack's house, surrounded by boxes and old furniture, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, his heart skipping a beat when he saw Maria's name on the screen. Her voice was tense, laced with urgency. "Liam, where are you? We've got a problem." "I'm at Jack's house," he replied, his voice tight. "I found a video. Jack's behind this, Maria. He's the one pulling the strings." There was a pause on the other end. "I just got off the phone with the hospital," Maria said, her tone dark. "Jack's gone. He woke up about an hour ago, and by the time the nurses checked on him, he was gone." Liam's blood ran cold. "Gone? How could he just disappear?" "I don't know," Maria said, frustration seeping into her voice. "But we need to find him, Liam. If he's on the loose, Evylin doesn't have much time." Liam felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He'd been chasing shadows, unraveling the twisted layers of this mystery, and now the man behind it all had slipped through his fingers. Fear crept into his thoughts. If Jack had already escaped, where would he go? And what was his next move? "We have to assume he's heading for Evylin," Liam said, his voice hardening with determination. "We need to figure out where he's keeping her." "I'm already on it," Maria replied. "I'm digging into Jack's financials and property records. If there's any place he could be hiding her, I'll find it." Liam ended the call and pocketed his phone, his mind racing. Time was running out, and every second that passed put Evylin in more danger. He left the basement and stepped out into the night, the cool air doing nothing to calm his frayed nerves. Back at the station, Liam and Maria worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragments of Jack's life, searching for any clue that could lead them to Evelyn's location. Jack was meticulous. There were no obvious leads, no forgotten properties or hidden bank accounts. But something about his recent behavior didn't add up. The payments to David, the surveillance of Evylin. There was a missing piece to this twisted puzzle. As the hours ticked by, Maria slammed her hand down on the table in frustration. "We're missing something, Liam. There has to be a reason Jack's doing this. This whole thing, it's personal. But why?" Liam leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "It's more than just an obsession with Evylin. There's something deeper, something we're not seeing. I keep thinking about that video. The way Jack looked at her, it wasn't just control. It was like he was protecting something." "Protecting," Maria repeated, her brow furrowed. "From what?" "That's what I don't know," Liam admitted. "But I have a feeling David Harlow is part of it. He and Jack had bad blood, right? What if Evylin got caught in the middle of whatever happened between them?" Maria nodded slowly, considering the theory. "It's possible. But what would make Jack go this far? What could David have done that would push Jack to abduct his own sister?" Liam opened his mouth to respond, but before he could say anything, Maria's phone buzzed with an alert. She glanced at the screen, her eyes widening in surprise. "You're not going to believe this," she said, holding up the phone for Liam to see. "A security camera just picked up Jack's car." Liam leaned in, his pulse quickening as he studied the image. The footage was from a gas station on the outskirts of town, and it showed Jack pulling into the lot, his face barely visible through the windshield. "He's heading out of town," Maria said, "probably trying to stay off the grid." "We need to get to that gas station," Liam said, grabbing his coat. "It's our best shot at finding out where he's going." The drive to the gas station felt like it stretched on forever, the minutes dragging by as Liam's mind raced with possibilities. Every second counted, and with Jack on the run, there was no room for mistakes. When they arrived, the station was nearly deserted, the only light coming from the flickering neon sign above the door. Liam and Maria rushed inside, flashing their badges at the startled attendant behind the counter. "We need to see your security footage," Liam said urgently. "A man came through here recently, Jack Stone. We think he's involved in a serious crime." The attendant, a young man with tired eyes, nodded quickly and led them to the back room where the security monitors were located. He pulled up the footage from earlier that night, and Liam's heart skipped a beat when he saw Jack again, clear as day. "There," Maria pointed to the screen. "He paid in cash. No card to trace." Liam's eyes narrowed as he watched Jack walk back to his car, but then something caught his attention. Jack wasn't alone. In the back seat, barely visible through the tinted windows, was a figure. It was Evylin. "She's with him," Liam breathed. "He's got her." Maria's face paled. "But where is he taking her?" Liam rewound the footage, focusing on the moments just before Jack drove away. There was something else, something he hadn't noticed before. A map briefly visible on Jack's passenger seat. It was only there for a split second, but it was enough. "He's got a map," Liam said, pointing at the screen. "That's how we'll find him." Maria squinted at the image. "Can we zoom in?" The attendant shook his head. "Sorry, that's as clear as it gets." Liam's mind raced. There was something familiar about the layout of the map, something that tugged at the back of his memory. Then it hit him, a conversation he'd had with Jack during their initial interview. Jack had mentioned a cabin, a family property up in the woods, a place they used to go when they were kids. "That's it," Liam said, his voice steady with newfound clarity. "He's taking her to the cabin." The drive to the cabin felt like a descent into darkness. The road wound through dense woods, the trees casting long, twisted shadows in the moonlight. Fear gnawed at Liam's gut, but he forced it down. He had to stay focused. They were close, closer than they'd been since the start of this nightmare. As they neared the cabin, the air grew colder, and a thick fog began to roll in, obscuring the road ahead. Liam's knuckles whitened as he gripped the steering wheel, his heart pounding with anticipation. He could feel the weight of the mystery pressing down on him, the twisted layers of deceit and obsession finally coming to a head. They pulled up to the cabin, the old, weathered structure barely visible through the fog. The lights were off, but there was a car parked outside, Jack's car. Liam's pulse quickened. "He's here," Maria whispered, her hand on her gun. Liam nodded, his own hand hovering over his weapon. They approached the cabin cautiously, every step filled with suspense, every shadow a potential threat. The door was slightly ajar, just like at Jack's house. Liam pushed the door open, his heart hammering in his chest as he stepped inside. The air was thick with tension, the silence almost unbearable. The cabin was dark, save for a faint light coming from the back room. They moved silently through the cabin, their footsteps barely audible on the wooden floor. When they reached the back room, Liam pushed the door open and froze. Evylin was there, tied to a chair, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. But she wasn't alone. Standing next to her, his hand resting on her shoulder, was Jack Stone. His face was calm, almost serene, as if everything was finally falling into place. "You're too late, Detective," Jack said, his voice cold and detached. "It's over." "Let her go, Jack," Liam said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. Jack shook his head slowly. "You don't understand. This is the only way. She was going to leave, and I couldn't let that happen." "Leave?" Maria stepped forward, her voice filled with confusion. "What are you talking about?" Jack's eyes darkened. "David, he was going to take her away from me. I couldn't let him have her." Liam's heart pounded, piecing together the final fragments of the twisted puzzle. Jack wasn't just obsessed with Evylin. He was possessive. David had tried to help her escape, but Jack's need for control had driven him to madness. "You don't have to do this," Liam said, inching closer. But before Liam could act, Jack pulled a small, hidden device from his pocket. His thumb hovered over the button, eyes wild with desperation. "If I can't have her," Jack whispered, voice trembling, "no one can." A deafening beep filled the room. Liam's breath caught in his throat as the cabin exploded into blinding light.